Portfolio Committee, the board chairman, Mr. Ngwenya. He's also my chairman because I also come from Eswatini TV, USA representative, UNESCO representative, Magafikile Kama, the acting CEO, and that is my boss as well. Stakeholders, Limco Queen Director, Eswatini TV CEO, my cousin, the Vice Chancellor, staff and students, media fraternity, Mr. Stanley Dlamini, the Culture Council CEO, Limco Queen Director, EBIS Director, and all protocol observed. I then right. It is with a heart brimful of gratitude that I've also been invited to celebrate this very important day. Well, today, as we celebrate World Television Day, we are reminded that television is not merely a medium of entertainment. It is a living archive of our culture, a mirror of our society, and a powerful voice that educates, informs, and unites nations. Television has shaped how we see the world and how the world sees us. It has carried our stories, amplified our voices, and documented our collective journey as a people. For some of us, television is not only a chronic history, it has made our history. Well, our journey, or maybe even, should I say, my journey, began in 1982. Fresh out of school, one ordinary afternoon on a Saturday, my mother sent me to town for errands. But fate intervened. I took a chance and walked into the studios of STBC for an audition. The CEO then, Mr. Bill Mamari, needed someone urgently for Grandstand. That was a weekend sports show. The usual presenter, Mr. Wellington Sugati, was needed on the golf course in Simunye. With the little time to spare, they handed me the script. Young as I was, I memorized every word and recited it with confidence. By the time I finished, I was hired on the spot. Well, the unfortunate situation is that I didn't have a TV at home. So our neighbors had to inform my mother that her son was on television. Yes, I continued part-time at STBC, yet destiny returned. Ivor Coughlin, I believe he was supposed to be here, hired me after Lenny Shoulder and Alphonsus Magongo were fired over a lost camera at the Why Not Disco. During those years, I worked for SIDC. I was actually in charge of the houses at Ngwenya village, pursued a diploma in general agriculture at the University of Swaziland, Luyengo campus, and also I became the first librarian at the Nazarene Nursing College, now SANU, before His Majesty King Yemaswati III intervened. In 1987, I met His Majesty, then newly enthroned. We had served together as young cadets with the Umbuto Swaziland Defense Force before he left for England in 1982. Through his intervention, I was formally employed at Swazi TV under Mr. Dan Dlamini. I joined the newsroom under editor George Mabuza, where I worked till 1983. Well, now talking about AI and talking about what we used to do during our time, it was quite easy for us to say the weather forecast, because we used to easily say that it will be partly cloudy and cool with the possibility of isolated thunder showers in places, which basically means everything that happens around the country. That was our AI then. I don't know what AI is today. Well, during our time at the holding room, I told whoever I was with that I had a visit from Dr. Evans at one point at Channel Yemaswati. We spent about 2 hours talking, but I want to make him aware right now that for the 1 hour, 30 minutes, he was talking alone. Until for the next 30 minutes, that's when I realized that we were from the same church, the Lutheran Church. That is when we started talking real business. Well, now let's talk about television. With a diploma in journalism from Zambia and exposure to ZNBC's OB van, I brought the idea home, that is of the OB. His Majesty the King embraced it, and the concept birthed an OB unit today led by Mxolisi Mavimbela. I believe he's also here. But its formation was not smooth. Government initially rejected the idea and feeling sidelined. It was at the height of this tension that Channel S was born. First, as an advertising agency, sustaining itself when Swazi TV neglected it. The agency then sourced equipment and evolved into a full production house. By 2001, Channel S became the first station on the Centec multiplex, broadcasting through Intelsat, covering 95% of Africa and the whole of Europe, proudly declaring that this is Channel S, sharing the Swazi culture with Africa, Africa with a reverb. In 2003, His Majesty granted us a terrestrial license, later reissued by SCCOM. Technically, the journey has gone from satellite multiplex in South Africa to Malakwane Hill transponder to 10 analog high sites countrywide, and by 2014 into the full government integration on the DTT multiplex, where we still remain. Our biggest challenge is not technology, it's economics and perception. Social media has diverted advertising revenue as companies believe followers replace professional broadcasting. Production costs remain high, while many Yemaswati watch South African channels illegally. There's limited understanding of audience segmentation and advertising value. To illustrate this, in the early 2000s, our satellite rental was 477,000 rands a month, and yet we still made profits because South African media buyers understood that viewership niches matter more than personal relationships. In Eswatini, advertising choices are still often based on who you know, not strategic audience value. Well, despite these challenges, we stand on a cusp of transformation. Artificial intelligence and emerging technology offer us a chance to revive creativity, reduce costs, analyze audiences better, and open new revenue models. Platforms like this one, I'm talking about this meeting, help break the barrier of misunderstanding and opens the door to partnerships, growth, and innovation. Let us embrace these opportunities for the future of Eswatini's production industry. As we celebrate World Television Day, let us honor where we come from, the struggles, the innovation, the sacrifices, and let us walk confidently into a future where Swazis continue to shine across the world. Television remembers our past, speaks for our presence, and dreams for our future. I thank you.
I think sesiyisetile Tony Gutsi for all the speakers that are going to come through to the podium. Sibaniketa lihlombe lenjengale la Mr. MAMBA lapha ngoba singathi sibalansise kahle. Siyabonga kakhulu Nkosi iyavakala lokuthi waqala iTV labanye bethu basengadalwa, and namuhla you stand as one of the legends in the television industry. Siyabonga kakhulu ligalelo lakho lolidlalile liyabonakala impela. Siyacela ke ukuthi siqhubeke neprogram yethu. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the following item, and it gives me pleasure to also introduce from the Ministry of ICT, the Under Secretary Make Makanjana Motsa. Ngiyacela ke simshayele tandla seta ngaphambili. Kakhudlwana nje sitshaya kakhudlwana. You can ululate as well, that's okay. Might as well ululate.
ngiyabonga program directors. Ngivusele yonke indlu ngetigaba tayo. Ngivusele program director. Ngivusele babe vice chancellor babe Twala. Ngivusele chairperson babe Ndlovu. We portfolio committee yaka ICT namage futhi ngamphalala students sami sukuma futhi bakubona. Ngamfundzisa St. Paul's ngumshaya hayi kancane. Yes. Board chairperson of the Eswatini Television Authority, Gogo Abengwenya. CEs and their representatives present here today. Lim Kokwing, representative. Lecturers, especially those from the journalism faculty, Babe Vusim Tembu. Ngicela kunitshela igama lakhe ngambiti kodwa ubitwa ngimnge sinile esikolweni naye ngibhuti Maswiti. Ngikhule naye uphinde futhi abe isihlobo sami ngumzala wami ngubaba uMaswiti. Yes. Senior government officials, the media present today, students, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Ngimelele Mage Mazia, lo ngicele simxoxele kakhulu. She couldn't be here with us because of other national duties. I'm going to read her speech as is. Today, Eswatini joins the global community in celebrating World Television Day, a day that recognizes the profound influence of television as a driver of information, education, and national development. This year's focus on artificial intelligence in television ushers a new era in broadcasting, one where technology and creativity converge to shape the future of storytelling. Television has always been at the heart of national dialogue. It brings our stories to life, connects us to global events, and plays a pivotal role in strengthening democracy through timely and reliable information. As the Minister of ICT, we deeply appreciate the work of our broadcasters, who continue to keep the nation informed, engaged, and empowered. The broadcasting sector across the world is rapidly transforming. Artificial intelligence is reshaping how news is produced, how content is delivered, and how audiences engage with information. From automated news production to personalized content delivery to data-driven decision, AI is redefining the future. As the world of journalism evolves, we too are moving with the times. Recently, the ministry convened a national validation workshop for the development of the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy. This strategy will guide how AI is adopted across sectors, including broadcasting. It is our ambition to ensure that Eswatini harnesses AI responsibly, ethically, and in a manner that strengthens, not compromises, the integrity of our media. To prepare our nation for this new digital era, the Minister of ICT continues to formulate progressive broadcasting policies that will liberalize the broadcasting space, promote commercialization, and strengthen public service broadcasting. This policy work is critical in positioning Eswatini in broadcasting industry for growth, resilience, and global alignment. Ladies and gentlemen, innovation can only thrive when supported by strong infrastructure. The ministry is actively
letifaka bona bo JMC vele kuphethelena nato leti ke tabomabonakudze sithi babe uyidlalile inzima yakho ngabe ungathini babe ngawe ekwaluseni lokulungisile lonyaka noma lokushintshile lokuphathelana nato tona letike noma lokutfaka kuleti television esikolweni sakho baba.
Awusibonge kakhulu Msakade, sibonge kakhulu Caba. Sibingelele Yemaswati ekhaya. Sijabule kakhulu silapha e-University yaseSwatini lamhla sito celebrate i-television day. Lokho ukuthi sibuka inzima ledlalwa ngcondo mshina kude television. Njengaloku nikhumbula amaswati lo akadzeni sasibukela i-TV black and white yasino seshintshile sekungenela bongcondo mshini eku-70 tindzaba tabo television. Silapha njena labamele i-Ministry ICT labamele i-Eswatini Commission labasite kakhulu ekutheni ilanga lamhla liphumelele. Leli langa limicwa kakhulu ukuthi ngoba nebantwana lesibafundisako kuto television na radio sijabula kakhulu ke ukuthi nalamhla khona basikhombise kona lokumayelana ne-television lokuthi nje sikhumbule ukuthi bekwentiwani itolo nalamhla ukuthi kwentiwani lokusho ukuthi si-University yaseSwatini setinengi tintfo lesitibonile kusitwa ma-sponsors. Kwekucala nje sine-radio station lesisite kakhulu i-US Embassy ne-UNDP lokusha-ke lokuvelile lesikusebentile lapho sive singaphindze futhi sisimeme ukuthi sitawusebentisa le facility. Sine content hub ye-television yakhiwe lapha e-university lethulwa kuye umlisa wayivula nge-graduation ku-October. Siyanimema-ke bakangwele ukuthi ningeta lapha nitawakhe amafilimu noma nenta i-content noma nenta ama-short stories ekusiteni ku-developer live. Siyanimema-ke futhi ukuthi nisibambise esi-university singafisa ukuthi le siteshi sethu se-television sigcine sesi-broadcaster. Sithemba ngibambisana nebaka-Esicom ne-ministry kutawenteka lokhu. Lilanga lihle kakhulu lelamhla siyabonga nje kakhulu bekunene inkosi ibe nani.
Siyabonga Professor. Babe Professor kukhona lokukhulunyiwe lapha njengale artificial intelligence. Ngeke ngeva babe ukuthi ukhuluma ngekuthi akhona ema short courses AI ingabe wena Professor njenga Professor tintfo nitibone nyalo niphindze nitibuke nakusasa ukuthi ingabe kusasa letintfo titawuhamba titabe tisaphila noma titawufunctiona kanjani. Awesabi wena Professor ukuthi mhlambe lo AI ngabe isatanism?
Awusibonge kakhulu Sicaba. Sijabula kakhulu nekusho ukuthi ingcondo mshini sowuthuthukile Maswati lamadla. Ingcondo mshini soyakhona nokuthi akucabangele akwentele tintfo masinyane noma wenda i-production kuyakhona ukuthi ungene kungcondo mshina kukunike indlela tekuwakha masinyane. Si-university ke sine-Artificial Intelligence Academy lephethwe nguye Professor Motsa. Sesiwentile ke ma-short courses lehlukene lafana ne-generative artificial intelligence for professionals, generative artificial intelligence for teachers and also for the legal profession. Nyalo ke lokhu sikhuluma nge-television ngiyethemba futhi ngiyethembisa ukuthi itawuvela lenye ye-generative artificial intelligence for journalism lokufaka sport television ne-radio. Kuthuthuka nje lokusekusha lokufikile umhlaba wonke jikelele ngete sakubalekela bakangwane. I-artificial intelligence iyasita ikakhulu na ufuna kusebenzisa umcondo lomsha noma ufuna kwakha umcondo lomsha ngoba ngekusheshsha iyakhona kulanza lolo lwati kwengcondo nomshini lokhona lapha ku-internet bese uyakhona kusebenzisa kwakha mhlambe lofuna kwakha. So ngete sakubalekela bakangwane. Futhi nje ngaphandle kwe-television iyangena kutemfundo, iyangena kutempilo, iyangena kutekulima. So ilusito nje kakhulu kungakho si-university sibone kube kuhle ukuthi sakhela ama-short courses ekusita live. Siyabamema-ke nabo baka-television ukuthi abasonzele sibambisane bayisebenzise nale content hub. Siphindze futhi sakhe ama-courses ekufundzisa ti-70 tabo etiteshini letehlukene. Sibonge kakhulu Tibukele emakhaya.
Sibonga kakhulu babe Professor, siyethemba ukuthi cishe le dream yakho letifiso takho eMaswati atawuthuthuka ngekuthi ke abavele babe available khona lapha ke kunemhambo khona ke lapha ke waluseni ukuthi nawufuna mhlambe kungenela ungangenela kanjani lawo ma-short courses.
Sibonge kakhulu ku-internet sinayo inakuza i-web lapha ungakhona ku-aplayela khona. Ungabakontakta nabo baka-registrar bakukhombise ukuthi ungaphuma ubhekephi. Ungamkontakta naye Professor Motsalose, Faculty of Science and Engineering, u-available and uyasebenziseka kalula nje. Siyanimema ke nonke bekunene ukuthi awusonzelani nitawusitakala. Sibonge kakhulu.
Hayi siyabonga kakhulu babe Professor.
Sibonge cha.
Ngiyabonga.
Patients, please facilitate that. We have another chair added here, please, because this conversation without our regulator is, for lack of a better term, negligent. We need to have Mr. Nzabukelago in this conversation. I see he was happy that he thought I forgot him. No, Nzabukelago, you will join the conversation. But Luandle, let me bring you in. And I want us to start by understanding how we avoid cultural bias. And I started by quoting that we are seeing around the world that most of the language models around AI do not have our languages, right? And UNESCO has warned that global AI tools tend to favor dominant cultures, and 90% of our languages in Africa are missing from major databases. So how do you prevent importing AI languages without having our own?
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important question, and it's a serious concern. I hope, as some of you may know, that UNESCO has a recommendation for ethics for artificial intelligence, which talks about inclusion, representation, cultures, and languages. But what is important here is to understand that as member states and citizens, we have a huge responsibility of ensuring that our language and our culture is represented in artificial intelligence models. Artificial intelligence models, I was having a conversation with Dr. Evans. What is crucial is that we train these models as Yemaswati. That's the only way to ensure. Because when you look at these models, the dominant languages are used to train the artificial intelligence. But what are we doing as countries? Because that is a serious concern.
Yeah.
We will be left out if...
You mentioned inclusion, but you also mentioned that it is our responsibility. We need to take that responsibility to make that a reality, right? And I think that segues into Dr. Evans, because you work in academia. You teach students, right? How do we make sure that they get to learn how to do everything that Luandle is talking about? Because they have to learn at a younger age. It's really hard to teach our senior citizens. Not disrespect, QHAWE, I see you looking at me, you want to punch me in the face. It's really, at least you can hire the students and they can integrate AI into your model. So how difficult is that? What are the most immediate, let's say, topics that you really need to inculcate into these young people?
Good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation. That's a very difficult question, I think, coming now. But I just want to maybe highlight that we celebrate World TV Day today, but the very definition of what television is problematic now. I don't know what TV is. I mean, I'm not sure if there's anyone who can answer that question at the moment. There's been that fluidity between what we've known and what is coming, and AI is making it worse. So that forces us to, as academics at least, start thinking very critical about the need to rethink our curriculum. I think the Vice Chancellor did mention that we are reviewing our curriculum and we're trying to make sure that it addresses the needs that are in industry. So I'll talk about the few competencies that I think we need to think about. In newsrooms and in media production, artificial intelligence is found across many divisions. So you find it in production, you find it in news presenting. I think last week we were at the African Investigative Journalism Conference and we saw many newsrooms now using AI presenters. That's quite interesting. I think we're one of the few countries at the moment without AI presenters. Of course, there are discussions around the ethics and what that means for people's jobs and all of that. But it's a direction that we need to be taking. It's also found in journalism workflows as well. It's found in editing. You find that the four things that I've mentioned normally are around generative artificial intelligence. But there is more advanced AI that we need to think about. That includes production automation, content distribution. I think Channel S was talking about the challenges that we face competing with social media in terms of content distribution. It all goes back to our ability to use AI systems to, number one, know who the audience is, number two, to target and distribute content in ways that relate with those audiences. Those are skills that we need to have in newsrooms. We can't have all of them now. It's a process, but it's something that we need to think about. You need to have reporters and media workers that have basic AI literacy. Basic. If you had to do maybe a survey, you realize that our skill levels are at various levels, and that's not good. We need to at least have some benchmark. We need to know how to use the models, the generative ones, at least for now. I mean, I normally joke and say that the AI tools that we have at the moment are as good as the people that are guiding them. So if we don't have that literacy, we are going to be producing very dangerous products.
So garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Right.
So we need to take care of that. Maybe just to add the need for human and AI orchestration skills. I mean, in broadcasting, you have many workflows that you have to go through, and you can manage to bring artificial intelligence into that. For example, you could build agents for research, so you have production level agents that are just there to do your research, and you take that burden away from the people that do it every day, script writing, editing, and making sure that your content is compliant. You can give that task to AI. But for that to happen, you need a skill. You must be competent in terms of orchestration models. You need to know how to orchestrate this particular model. It's something that I think here you find is taught in computer science, but very soon you'll begin to find in journalism. It's something difficult, like you said, to teach this now, especially in journalism, where traditionally we are not computer scientists.
Yeah.
But we are, unfortunately, found in the midst of that dilemma, and we have to be hybrids, unfortunately.
Thank you, Doctor. I like the garbage in, garbage out point because it reminds us of the responsibility that we have as individuals. If you have personnel in your company, you are not going to say AI is here and it's going to save you. Your people still need to be competent. I really appreciate that. I want to come to you, Sandile, and I also needed the regulator to answer this, but I think because it also really does affect your job very acutely. And I want to quote by a real life example. Just some weeks ago, they sent me a screenshot of myself, but not so much myself, right? I'm in this shirt. I was wearing this shirt. Behind me is the backdrop of Musile Breakfast Show. That is the show that I host every morning from Monday to Friday. And the headline says it was all over the news, but the full story is even more shocking. And they have a sub-headline there that's written down there. It says, the state-backed platform guarantees income of up to 17,000 emalangeni per week. And after that, there's a deep-fake prime minister, just like I was deep-faked, His Excellency Prime Minister Russell Dlamini. And he does really say we do have this state-backed platform that guarantees 17,000 emalangeni per week. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? There's no such thing in any country. And this is a post that had 523 likes of Yemaswati who are excited to learn that they can make 17,000 emalangeni per week. And I'm the one who said that story on Facebook, unbeknownst to me. So there's a conversation around guardrails from a policy standpoint, and I'm happy we see members of parliament here. We need you guys to go back there and have a serious conversation with the regulator and everyone around how do we protect ourselves from these instances of deepfake. And I suppose the question for you, Makanya, is how do we protect our identity? The statistic is, MIT put it all over at 90% in some models where people are now copying your work and they can replicate it accurately. Has that been a reality for you, and how do we continue to protect ourselves from this?
The issue of deepfakes, it's a country-wide concern. It's a national and a worldwide concern,
Global.
which is going to affect government trust and authenticity of things.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that labadzala bethu bawungeka lula mababona into, it's either playing on a video, babona ishark iphuma emfuleni. Whether a shark ibakhona emfuleni or not, but it's easier for them to believe it, and they'll come show you, "Uyibonile le shark idla umuntu emfuleni." And so if they can believe something that is, I can say it's easier to just debunk as AI. There are things where when you are delivering a speech and influencing people to go to a certain page, they can easily believe. So it is a concern, and unfortunately, it is a government level type of thing that they need to deal with. And more so about us, we just need to have a lot more public awareness about these things. But when it comes to our content, definitely they are going to steal some of it, and there's nothing much we can do about it. The only thing that we can do is that the one thing that AI does not have is the human touch. I can recreate many things ahead of what I've created already. No matter how many times they can copy it, they would not have that human touch that a creative human being has. It's going to get there, but as of yet, it is not. So I would say if they are stealing our content, we should just keep on creating more, and that is far better.
I always say, if there's one thing that I truly appreciate about my job is how much it widens my perspective, and it allows me to widen the viewer's perspective, because it's a whole ecosystem. And you will allow me to quote the recent fraud statistics from the fraud department from the police. And this is very timely because we are wrapping up cyber security and fraud awareness month. They detail us that in 2025 alone, available statistics show that a total of 1,832 financial crime cases were reported during the period from October 2024 to the 30th of September this year, amounting to 267 million emalangeni. Yeah, that amount is too much. And it makes me wonder, when I look at that link and that 523 likes, how many of Yemaswati clicked on that link and had their information compromised or their monies stolen? And so we really do, our government officials, we need guardrails. I see you and I'm looking at you guys in the eyes. We will be looking forward to watching Tase Palamende on Eswatini TV and seeing you guys have a conversation around how we continue to strengthen resilience when it comes to AI. Let me bring you back, Mabusela, and when we talk about reducing dependency, as Eswatini, the pie or the stake is trillions of US dollars. How much of it do we claim as the kingdom of Eswatini? And sub-Saharan Africa currently relies on foreign cloud infrastructure for over 85% of AI processing. It's a scary number. How dangerous is that dependency?
Well, one of the things that I always have in discussion with my colleagues or friends about AI is ensuring that as a country we keep our sovereignty. So it is dangerous. In fact, it's been shown in Europe that if you depend on outside computation power or models, you find that if there are any political problems in that area, you are directly affected. So as we stand, I think what we need to add to our strategy as we move forward to a first world country is to make sure that we invest in high spec data centers that will allow us to not only train our models, but keep our data as well, and also have maybe at the end of the day, export that power outside. So we rather focus on empowering ourselves than depending on other countries.
But is that a conversation that is ongoing under the confines of the RSTP, or it's just an ambition that you're articulating now? Because this is a serious issue. The numbers that I'm highlighting here are concerning. Is this a conversation? I saw Ndendesa was here as well. Is this a conversation that is ongoing and you're looking for solutions already?
Well, yes, the RSTP this year recently established the AI and Data Analytics Research Group. And it's a conversation that we are having as a group. And we've looked at our data center, we've noted down what we need as a country. We do have a high performance computer. We also looked at how to leverage that. So within RSTP, it is a direction that we are looking to go forward, but we also need support from government to reach that level.
Yeah, I want to bring back the conversation around ethical risks to you, Doctor, because deepfakes, but it's not only deepfakes. You know better than me. There's many other risks that exist. What are some of the ethical foundations, and I use foundations very intentionally there because these are your people that you're teaching here. They need the foundation. What are some of the ethical foundations that we cannot afford not to impart into these young people?
No, thank you for the question. 2 days ago, we launched the first AI model for journalism and climate change. One of the things that we highlight there, and one of the things that we build into the pipeline, is that ethics are not an afterthought. So from the first day you start thinking about building, you start thinking about ethics. I'll give an example of how one can think about it. So you build a model that's able to maybe do research for you in terms of cataloging past stories. And in that model, there are names of companies and people, etc. One could use that to identify people that have said particular things that they don't like and get their addresses and kill them. So you want to think about it at a personal level. What is it that you want to think about when you think of ethics? It's fundamental. Yes, we talk about aspects of bias detection, for example. The idea of deepfakes that we've been discussing. These are all ethical issues. AI produces the deepfakes, but we can also use the same AI to detect the deepfakes. That's where we need, of course, like he says, it's difficult. There's nothing that creatives will do at the moment to try and prevent that. Deepfakes will be produced, but you need to produce more accurate information. The truth is a way of surviving lies. So you need to keep doing the right thing. So you need to think very critically about bias detection. So the example that you give of yourself and all these lies that are put there. Not everyone is going to try and fact check.
Yes.
And it's not their job to fact check information. It's your responsibility again to set the record straight. But how then to use AI we have many tools. I think we've done lots of training on how journalists can use most of these tools. Most of them are open access. And we also do build open access tools here at the university. So if you want access to tools that you could use to fact check misinformation, something that I'm less worried about, I'm more worried about disinformation because it harms society and it's intentional. We also want to have transparency protocols in our processes. So as a journalist who is writing a story, from the time you start thinking about, I want to cover this particular topic and I want to travel to Hlangano, for example, to do this, you start thinking about the ethical issues. As you give your content to AI, that I've gathered all these facts I want to draft, you want to start thinking about what does it mean for content to be written by a model. I think we've just finished a study where we're asking reporters, what is it that one thing that will make you stop using AI instantly? And most of them say that the moment it misrepresents people, it stereotypes people, it brings bias. But more critically, the moment it makes you lose your voice as a journalist. Because as a newsroom, you have a voice, you have an identity. You want to make sure that the models that you use mimic your voice. You want to make sure that as a journalist, as an individual, your voice still remains. People know that this is you, and we want to know you as you. Even if you use AI, we still want to know, when we watch your show in the morning, there is one thing that is different, that when you are to bring a model, it won't be able to do that. But if you are to use models, please then try and have transparency built into that, and make sure that the models that you use, like Londa was saying, that you need to customize and fine-tune these models for your own use. For Swazi TV, you have produced massive amounts of content over years. Your library is so rich, and you want to use that library to build and customize your own models that work for you, that preserve your own identity, that can adapt your editorial policy, and make sure that when we hear, when we see, we know this is a Swatini TV.
Unfortunately for me, I've been misrepresented. It has happened once, at least to my knowledge. And the issue around credibility is quite essential. And I want to bring Luande into this. You do a lot of work educating the nation. We've seen some of the work that you're doing with the Bambugisi Foundation, you're doing with the government, you're doing with ASICOM. How much work do we have? How big is the responsibility for public awareness? Because as he says, a lot of people don't feel like they have the responsibility to fact check things. And now we have this advent of deepfakes. And like I said, 523 people liked that. I don't know how many of those 523 people believed it. And surely there was a fair share of people that believed it. And I want to quote the statistic. Reuters Institute found that AI-generated misinformation increased by 900% between 2022 and 2024. And by the way, that's a reminder of how not so old AI is, 2022 to 2024. And yet for us, it's only now becoming a serious conversation, especially the deepfakes. So how much of that responsibility do we have to teach people?
We have a huge responsibility. Actually, when we talk of digital transformation, your artificial intelligence, you cannot do it without reskilling and skilling the people. In order for them to have the responsibility, they have to be aware. So when we talk of awareness, we talk of awareness in every sense of that word, particularly ensuring that people see that they have a responsibility in truth.
Have you started doing that? Have you started reskilling and teaching the public? Do you have programs that we can cite maybe?
We actually have an open program right now for AI and digital transformation in government in collaboration with the University of Oxford. So I encourage particularly people in the public sector. It's a free course. But what I want to say, if you want to transform a nation, you really have to work on the shift of the mindset. Transformation ayende edolobheni embabani ema-ofisini akahulumende. But we really have to get in touch, and we have the opportunity of using such existing structures such as libraries, inkundla centers. The university as well can start programs of community service whereby the students go out there and teach. This is an issue of lifelong learning. More is to come. Artificial intelligence, more is to come. It's a moving train, we can't stand in front of it, but what we need to do is to have the responsibility to reskill and skill the people.
Fantastic. And as you make the people at home aware that there's a free course, I hope we will have an opportunity where at least you can articulate more in terms of how people can get onto that, because that is very important. Can you please allow Mr. Nzabwelo to join us? We have his seat right next to Mr. Mabusela. He represents the broadcasting unit from the Swatini Communications Commission, and is an important voice in this conversation, because regulation is literally it's not even at the center, it's around the whole ecosystem. It literally covers every part of the ecosystem. And I'm sorry that you joined us pretty late, but as you join us, I apologize again that you have to answer a question. Please pass him the microphone. Yes, thank you. Regulation is lagging behind, and this is not my opinion. McKinsey, it notes that regulation worldwide is about 3 to 5 years behind in terms of keeping up with AI, right? What parts of broadcasting regulations here in Eswatini, let's bring it home, are already outdated or will be outdated very soon because of AI?
Thank you, Mguni. Morning, everyone. Mguni, I think the pertinent question is what should be done at this point? I'll really agree with what you're saying. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a highly dynamic environment where changes are happening probably every minute. So we've taken into consideration our processes of getting regulations in place. We find ourselves lagging behind, particularly with the advent of AI. There's several aspects of our current regulatory frameworks that need to be upgraded to actually accommodate the changes that are brought by AI. Largely, our current regulatory frameworks are human-centered. They are centered around local content, which is based on the locality, based on human journalists, based on human content creators. So we need to shift from that mentality or perspective to actually look at AI, which does not have a locality, it is not identifiable at times, and there is no one you can hold accountable for adherence to ethical standards. So for instance, we can talk of newsroom ethics, the journalistic ethics. Currently, we expect our broadcasters to actually verify news, verify their sources, uphold ethical standards. Unfortunately, with AI, that is no longer applicable. There's also issues of local content. With our current definition of local content, we've got about 7 factors that you need to meet for that content to be classified as local content. We talk of the production team should be Swazi people. The entity that produces the content should be a local company with at least 50% ownership. We talk of the actors, it should be Swazis. We talk about wholly producing that content in the country. The locations should be within the country, and also focus on stories or context of Eswatini. So with AI, that no longer really fits the definition of local content. The other aspect that probably one should touch on is the issue of copyright. I'm glad that you've highlighted the issue that uses synthetic characters, AI-generated presenters. There's also voiceovers generated by AI. That issue now comes to what do we say about our regulation? Because they will take a voice, use it for advertising, but there is no obligation that requires AI to actually give credit to that. So those are some of the issues that we need to address in our current regulatory frameworks. Even though there's ESWACOS who needs to deal with that, but it's a conversation that as broadcasters we should also have. And then lastly, it touches on the categories of licenses that we have. The way we've structured them, it needs to change because we expect broadcasters to stick to a particular programming format or station format. If you are a music station, we expect you to adhere to that. But with the potential and opportunities that AI actually provides to you as licenses, you may find that the legislation that we have currently are actually prohibiting innovation. And actually you'll be missing out on a lot of opportunities within the sector. So the approach that needs to be taken now is to actually allow for regulation, allow for innovation, but also ensuring that we conduct our businesses as responsibly as we can. I think for now, that's what I can share. And then maybe
Another one that would possibly affect you as broadcasters is the issue of complaints handling. Complaints handling from your customers, your audiences. Currently, we require broadcasters to develop their complaints handling procedures and actually adhere to those. But unfortunately, with AI, which allows content to be viewed by different people at different times, you might be having a program at 7 p.m., but due to customized content abilities which are provided by AI, I might be watching some other program from Eswatini TV, but not particularly news, based on the type of content that I really like to watch frequently. So when I lodge a complaint, probably saying at 7 o'clock there was a program running on Eswatini TV, it might not be the same content for all of us. So now that becomes a challenge based on the current regulatory frameworks that we have. So we need to change them to accommodate such scenarios.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing to the fore the conversation around the emulation of voiceovers, because kahle umlangeni ukhona iphimbo lani from Bitanele, it's quite sonke cishe siyalala because we grew up listening to her. So a person like Sandile Makhanya, can take her voice and emulate it and probably announce something that a gullible person can easily believe, that you can make 17,000 emalangeni per week if you click on a certain link. And so, of course, you do see some of the meetings that you need to have now to make sure that there's guardrails around this particular conversation. I want to bring you here, Sandile. I wonder how much time we still have left, because I have a couple of questions. I think, Mr. Sunny Boy, you will tell me we have 10 minutes left. 1 minute. Thank you. We have 20 minutes. Okay. The conversation around local cultural data, and I will quote something that UNESCO has highlighted here. They've said that less than 1% of AI training data reflects African cultures. Do you think that there's a value in us building our own cultural data sets of AI that understands our context, and what would it take for creators to be a part of it? I think that is where you come in.
That's the question again.
Right. Do you think there's a value in us building our own cultural data sets so that AI understands our context? And I think where you come in is, what would it take for creators to be part of that?
Okay, I think that AI majority, the experts are going to help me. They also take from what we upload on YouTube, what we create films from, and all of that. So I think it is very important for us to, I think wonke umuntu ovunulile namhla has contributed towards AI understanding ukuthi imvunulo yini, lifindvo libukeka kanjani. Uma ngidawuposta lesithombe, AI is going to study that and look at it in that sense. And so I feel like independent producers are going to contribute by Sibuko Yemaswati. It is very important for us to reflect who we are as we are in the best way that we can. And in that way, we are feeding AI what we want AI to regurgitate back to us. And I think that as independent producers and as photographers and as Yemaswati, we need to post online and save and upload things that we want AI to regurgitate back to us. But basically, it's whatever we do, it should reflect us in the best way possible.
Yeah, and that fits to connectivity latency. RSTP becomes critical in that conversation. I want to bring you in, Mabusela. When we talk about the real bottlenecks, some of the ones that have been cited are across the continent. The most common technical issues are around slow AI adoption, around what they call unstable connectivity and high latency. You'll be able to contrast that for us. But I suppose the question, if you had to choose one of these two, which engineering bottleneck do you think will break our AI ambitions the fastest if we don't fix it? So we have two. We have unstable connectivity and high latency.
I think those essentially go together. it's kind of a hard question to say which to choose. It's like choosing between your left or your right hand.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think connectivity though is really important. If we get maybe the whole country or even the whole continent connected to the internet, then we can then begin to realize the benefits of AI.
How do we fix that? Who do you want to talk to right now and say, let's come together? And because what we want with this conversation is the solutions more than just lamenting the problems. So who do we need in a roundtable discussion to have a conversation that remedies that problem?
Well, I'm glad my parent ministry is represented here.
Call them by name.
Okay, Ministry of ICT. And they actually have been taking steps to address the connectivity issue with the rolling out of a fiber network across the country. So I can say that challenge is already being tackled. So I guess it's just to keep on doing that. We as RSTP also there. We are also tackling the issue of compute power that you asked about earlier. And once those two things come together, we'll be in a better standing when it comes to AI as a country.
Fantastic. I'm happy that you were able to remember from the top of your head that there are ongoing programs that the Ministry of ICT is doing in terms of making sure that we do have good internet connectivity in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And I want to bring you in, Mr. Evans, and this is the last question for you. It touches on what I asked him around culture, and it speaks basically around local data. Is it enough? When you do your research, you have a lot of professors here, a lot of doctors here. Do you believe we have enough local data to really inform or train culturally aware AI tools? Or do we need something that is somewhat long-term in terms of national data strategy?
Again, the answer is it depends.
On what?
I'll try and outline the steps. So for you to build a model at the level of ChatGPT at least 4 or Llama 4, you need about 15 trillion words. If you are to go online today and collect all the content that's in Siswati, we've tried that before, you don't get to 1 million words so far. I think Miss Mohammed is here. She was working on a tool called Lulimi last year at the hackathon. They struggled. I mean, we brought all the novels that we could find. It's difficult. On social media, Yemaswati write in English, or at best the code switch. So you don't get enough rich Siswati content on social media. Even if you were to combine with the Siswati from Mpumalanga, for example, but again, in terms of the standards that you're looking at, there is a challenge there. So it depends in terms of what you want to build. If you want to build a model for writing news stories, you have enough content. As Swazi TV, you could train a model based on all your past stories.
So what do we need to do, so for instance, as Swatini TV, because the issue around representation will be key in AI, otherwise we lag behind.
So you need, number one, to be deliberate and intentional that you want to go that particular path. Of course, there is a cost attached to that intentionality that you bring in. You want to set a budget for that. We have trained models. I think we're training our second model right now. All of them, they're in English, unfortunately. The cost of training a model is very high. And you need to be able to have that very good budget. You need to be able to get enough money for just the computing infrastructure resource. I don't know whether RSTP can support the kind of model production that you want. I'm glad they are here. We have been getting our servers from elsewhere. But the critical point is 2 weeks ago, Amazon was down, the famous East, and all of us, we suffered. 2 days ago, Cloudflare was down because of one text glitch. So it serves us better to have those computing resources locally, but again, they come at a cost. I mean, building a basic data center, you need about $50 million, and it's a lot of money. So you have the issue of the content, that's not available. But that can be addressed by deliberately deploying recorders to homesteads. I mean, that has been done before, where you distribute about 100 recorders and ask families to have normal conversations and try and minimize code switching. But if they can code switch, it's fine. You can still deal with that at fine-tuning level. That can be addressed. I mean, we have also done a project, I think, that is continuing. It's the Wikipedia translation project that we're doing with UNESCO and the Wikipedia, where we're trying to get people to translate all the content that's in the English Wikipedia into Siswati. We are hoping that the more people translate and write in Siswati, we're going to get more tokens that whoever wants to train a model will then be able to use.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sonny Boy, I promise you this is the last question, and it's going to, rightfully so, we have to bring in Mr. Zabgelwaga into our conversation. And Zabgelwaga, and I believe this question is very important, and it's around who takes the blame. We know there's an ecosystem, and we do have a representation of the ecosystem in our panel here. The European Union's new AI Act, it splits responsibility across the developer, the deployer, as well as the operator. So there's three parties: the developer, the deployer, and the operator. If an AI model causes harm here, it spreads misinformation, disinformation, there's biases around newsrooms, for instance, and there's manipulation of content, really. Who should be legally responsible?
Okay, thank you, Mgundi. From where we stand as the regulator, the buck rests with the broadcaster. So the broadcaster is always responsible and is liable for the content they broadcast. So you are the primary person who's liable for the content that you broadcast. That's the shortest answer I can give. But we do understand the levels at which you can deploy your AI. If it's on the content side of things, you are primarily responsible because you are the one broadcasting the content. Even if it comes from third-party providers, your independent producers, you are responsible for curating that content before it goes on air. If probably AI is deployed at the distribution level, then probably the developers of that AI which has generated that misleading content, depending on where they actually ingest the content in the value chain, they may be the secondary people who are liable for that content. But primarily, you are responsible.
Thank you, Mr. Zabgelwaga, and thank you to our amazing panelists for your insights. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We can talk the whole day, but I think one thing is clear is that we have a big responsibility to enhance capabilities, and there's a responsibility for each and every component in the ecosystem. Eswatini TV has a responsibility, Channel Yemaswati has a responsibility, EBIS has a responsibility, government has the responsibility, the RSTP has a responsibility. As an audience, you have a responsibility to be aware and to teach yourself and to be up to par with how fast this thing that we are talking about is developing. Your panelists, World TV Day, AI, and how it's changing everything. Thank you for your time.
MAMBA laba yesaphela bayisindwendwe beta market lo njengelizulu lasamxolo yendlovu yemhlaba ingani phela igqosho lokho lamahasha yebi fiyeka lamahasha yakhumbula khona luthini nyaka nakubeka phona shiva kadakala swela bahangwane bakushanyana bakukhahlala netinyawo wila ngempakulo etinkunzi letimbili dona tathi tiyawukhwela malagwane yimbira tasethi yaphikisana ezebalovula bebafana belitoto ingani thine besifalile ikungemadoda lamabili enye benyakatho enye beningizimu wena ke mbele kodwa injinga letinhlanzane yengani siyakuzonda isinjinga uthandwa izingatsha kuphela ekithe bendlovu yemhlaba ingene khona luthithini ingani yemboka phela nendlovu yebo kweshiva kadakalasiwela ingane ehlebona seyangukuda ngisho kuwe phela heshane bakashaba mu bese uyagijima phela unifana besikoti kanti phansi phela bafana babuthelezi bese nembiyani yamkhawula ingane phela ngendlovu yepresident ngamathobane lo mahasha lomnyama ngani bekangakanani bengahlala sentendeni yesandla ngemambala phela thathisa phela umnguni kanti nabasesheni khona sekukubalekela mtshilota kitho kangwane sebenzive siveka somhlolo afuma phansi phela amakhola ehlokoma tayekathaba intaba takumthimba bathoma nabomgomelo ngavusa nasetiko womlunguzi wendlovu ingani beyivalile ingani beyivala ngamaphamba ezibhamu ukhaya phasi kumagasa afane wamkhanza phela gasa wangwane balidla kodlula bandlovukazi yemhlaba ingani bengalikhotha lokumthelela ayikho phela ngani indlovu eyabheza indlovu akwesisika sekamswati ingani lebheza lidliwa izimfingo siyelo ndlovu alihlabile yakubhuda lo mahasha labangani bekangakanani ngisho kube kuphela heshana bakashabangu yebo kuphela heshana bakashabangu ufika uthatha phela umbhobho awunika indlovukazi yemhlaba wathi phakathi namaswati ngabhiliyoni bese ubona bomkhonzo nengofuma base bakhanza bogogo namkhulu base bayakubila phela indlovukazi yemhlaba bathi hallo sakubona phela indlovukazi udlovu udla amagala ezihlahla Nkosi ndlovukazi mhlekazi akube kuhle ndlovu enamandla wena wekunene
bayethe wena phakathi wena ungangezintaba umqombo nyama yesibanda ingani utheseka wethula sengwayo tibiyoni wevakala sikhombeni sikathi lenyama isemnandi ekuphekeni ingani yoba mnandi ekoseni khula tholele nyathi khula ndlaliselwa khula ndla madoda athi mbimbe njalo ke tindiza tembutho esathini defense force etule sibhakabhakeni sakangwane tindize netinyonto kangwane tihalalisele kukhula kwelive ukhulile Mswati iminyaka lengu55 akube kuhle nemfulweni kangwane kuvakale inhloko ekhalalisela lona live akube kuhle wena wekunene boya wekutala kamdlulu wase uyayiqala ke ingoma elisekwane nemambala ingatsha yase yamtuntuzela umntwana yase yamtuntuzela ngangezwe isho seyikhuphuka ngenhlokomo lapha etule esikhaleni selisekwane inhlokomo lethi yavakala nalapha endasenhlambeni ngimatatasela nanga nemaqhawela salala elive lapha endasembanana evakala yahalalisa ngikukhulakela kangwane ngikhula kwengwenyama bayahalalisa bofonono awekutala kwaDuba bayahalalisa nabo maphefu akube kuhle wena wekunene akube kuhle eqathazi labhuza